You should know your knife so well that you can cut blind. House of Spoils is an Amazon original from Amazon MGM Studios and the writer-director team of Bridget Savage Cole and Danielle Crudy, who did Blow the Man Down and other projects. You know, Blow the Man Down, that sounds like a pirate movie. I've seen a number of pirate movies throughout my life. Big and small, large and tall, didn't matter if they had a little bit of money, a lot of money, but there's one particular pirate movie that sticks out in my mind. It doesn't matter if I'm fast asleep, I will suddenly wake up and say, I remember this pirate movie filled with all kinds of swashbuckling action, cannons firing, sword play, and other kinds of sword play, peg legs, parrots, and all kinds of crazy, kooky work. And the best thing about that movie is it had plenty of plundering of the booty, which is why it was rated R. Yeah, I'm going to walk the plank for that one. I don't care. I am just looking for a little nugget of joy, a little crazy pun, to just get myself through this wild, wacky world. Speaking of wild, wacky worlds, let's get back to House of Spoils. So, you have a chef, played by Ariana DeBose, that is named Chef. Don't hit us in the head so goddamn hard with the creativity right off the bat there, movie. Slow down. Leave us a chance to just sit down so we can actually absorb this before you hit us with something so detailed and creative. God, I mean, Ariana DeBose is, a terrific goddamn actress. I mean, she really is. It doesn't matter if you give her a lot of material to work with or a minimal amount of material to work with. She's going to do her goddamn best. She's going to put her best foot forward, her best face forward, and my God, does she have the best face. My God, is she really, really rangy. She's really good, whether it's drama, whether it's a little bit of comedy, it doesn't matter. She makes the most out of the least. Speaking of which, let's get back to House of Spoils. And yeah, I'm kind of tipping my hands to how I felt about this movie, because Amazon and MGM were not the only studios involved in this. Blumhouse TV was involved. I'm going to be on my deathbed, and the work of Jason Blum will be haunting me. My last thought will likely be, I wish I could have kicked Jason Blum in his Blum nuts. That being said, let's get back to the fact that Ariana DeBose is essentially carrying this movie. No disrespect to the other actors, but she is a chef, again named Chef, creative, who leaves her high-paying but very high-stress job because she has dreams of having her own restaurant. So once, basically another deal fell through, she gets a sweetheart deal thanks to her friend Andreas, who is really trying to help her out, and she finds a fixer-upper. And yeah, it's a real fixer-upper. I mean, this house is kind of in disarray. There's a nice architecture to it, but she's going to have to put in a whole lot of work. And oh yeah, she really is going to have to make good on this, because this is her life's work. She has poured everything. She left her apartment, her job, all this stuff. She's going to make this work. It's just too bad that not everything's going to be easy, because there's also an evil presence that is bound and determined to stop her every single step of the way. Why is there an evil presence there? Because this house, has had this dark presence around it for a while. There's a history about this house, and she must find out and solve this mystery before her dreams are history. House of Spoils tales, woohoo! So yeah, Ariana DeBose basically carrying this. We did have Barbie Ferreira, who plays Lucia, and she was in Nope. I think she did good in this. Actually, I'd like to see what else she could do in a more meaty role. And Martin Koskas, I think is how you say it. He was an equalizer. And there's this one, her name's Amara Karan, and my God, she is lovely. Good grief. She plays like a food critic. And yes, this movie has a nice idea of it's tough for a woman to basically have her own business. She's going to be even more scrutinized, and the restaurant industry can be very judgmental. We saw that in the menu. We saw that, well, not necessarily in the taste of things, but we did see how preparing food with love and appreciation can go far. By the way, watch The Taste of Things. It's fucking beautiful, and it made me cry, and I don't know why. But that being said, because it was a great movie. Let's get back to this. House of Spoils basically tips its hand pretty early as to what's going on, and tries to mix psychological drama and psychosis with horror. And unfortunately, this is about what it does. It just doesn't come together. It's not gelling at all. It's not gelling. It's just kind of like this on the side of your head. If you had like Princess Leia hair, that's pretty much just what it's doing. Or it's like kind of doing this and everything, and it just can't come together, and it can't grip your head, and you just feel like gripping your own head and slamming it into the goddamn table because Blumhouse TV had to have something to do with the fact that this production felt not necessarily the worst, but it felt kind of cheap. I mean, they will do stuff on the cheap, and look, I didn't expect much from this when I saw it, despite the fact the aforementioned Ariana DeBose praise. But Jesus, this took forever. She did a good job playing this chef that was clearly losing her mind because of the pressure, pushing down on her, pushing down on me. No, chef has fault. But the big issue is the jump scares don't work. And the eventual reveal just kind of made me laugh because I was like, okay, I assume that much. There's an opening scene that ties back into like the twist at the end. Where it's like, okay, I'm not really shocked by that. But yeah, it's on Amazon if you want to check it out. Ariana is great. She's great in this. And the actress playing Lucia, she's good. And there's other good performances in this, but it doesn't really amount to much of anything. I'm going to get into spoilers, 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, basically, there is an opening scene, obviously, in any movie, where there's this lady that looks like they were putting her over a roast, but they were actually doing this ritual, feed the soil is a common theme. This guy Marcello, the guy from Equalizer, is pissed that she's leaving. He offered to double her pay because she's a really, really good chef, but she wants to do this on her own. She's now seeing ghostly figures within the first 10 minutes. She, there is this hostess at this restaurant, just briefly, Violet Lot Gombo. Goddamn. Put her in more stuff. Statuette, she looks great. And Lucia is a sous chef. Studio. All right now. And then, basically Andreas is like, oh, you're going to take this? Cool. All right. Toast, to doing the craziest, dumbest thing in the world, opening a restaurant. Ha ha ha. You're going to lose your ass. It's funny. No. There are people who put their life's work into stuff. So there was another chef that left. His name was Magnus. We find out a little bit later that he went mad. He even left his recipe book there. There's also a picture of this old lady that ties into, she was the previous owner. And yeah, there's a giant brown bun, an adorable brown bun. Really massive rabbit. Good grief, that was a massive rabbit. So she keeps seeing ghostly stuff. There's a guy named Alvin that's helping her. And she ends up basically noticing there's a bunch of bugs, a bunch of, crazy things going on. Is this all in her head? Is she happy? Is she feeling bad? Does she have sunshine in a bag? Is she losing it? Not for long, but then she's going to keep losing it for on and on and on. Did those lyrics make sense? No. Alvin basically, he means well, but his character actually really isn't factored in all that much after a little bit. But we get a Red Bull plug, and they didn't necessarily show everything, but they showed enough of it where I recognized that was a Red Bull label, because I saw a lot of it at my work. So, she is given basically 2 weeks to come up with this, better dish, because all the food that she tried to create before was rotted, so Alvin had to go get store-bought stuff. And since it's a small town, she didn't have a chance to really do anything. And now she's like, well, we got to get this going. So she kind of is a bit cruel to Lucia because a lot of, her boss's, Marcelo's work rubbed off on him, or on her. But she tries to be less cruel. And there's this thing that she found while walking out one night when she thought she heard something, and she hit her head, and then she woke up covered in dirt. She found this pepper fruit thing, where if you feed the soil and you give back and you do the right thing, you actually can, make the most of nature. So, yeah, she says it's from Sarah's farm, and all these ingredients, all this stuff in this garden that she basically breaks into, and it's this garden of all these ingredients that help her basically knock this thing out of the park. So now they're going to have now they're going to, open the restaurant. But, yeah, she starts to crack a little bit more. She yells at one point that, the witch is kind of bothering her. She says, "Leave me alone, you fucking witch." She decides to burn the menu. She realizes that, Magnus's, the book got dark. And yeah, that's essentially it. I mean, there's not really much left to this. There is some weird guy that shows up and during this, and it turns out it was actually Magnus. Magnus was eating his own hand because Magnus went insane. Why did he go insane? Maybe he was driven mad by the pressure. Maybe he did not honor the agreement with the garden to feed the soil and keep life growing. So she's trying to basically prepare for the dinner. She ends up cutting a part of her goddamn finger off because she's not paying attention. She wasn't able to cut blind, apparently. And then there's a shellfish allergy scare, and all this crazy stuff's going on. Well, then, Andreas basically says, hey, I need to talk to you. Lucia's got to be the chef. Why? Because you're going nuts. Oh, yes, I'm going to lock you here in the goddamn basement. Why is he going to lock her in the basement? Okay, it accelerates really quickly, but to be fair, she has been acting very, very strange. Acting her ass off, to be fair. Ariana, once again, doing some great stuff. But she's like, I'm not an asshole or whatever, and she's holding a fucking, tire iron right next to him. It's like, you kind of look crazy. But he locks her in the basement, and then she finds this tunnel. Earlier, she found this, entrance to this basement and stuff like that, where she found all these weird artifacts and all this crazy stuff, and that's what led her to ripping up the garden and all this stuff going on. She climbs into this tunnel, and she finds the body of the person. This was playing on my claustrophobia, because I have major issues with enclosed spaces. I can't even be in an elevator for long. And then there's this message that's carved there. This old lady somehow managed to have time to carve this message. Life to death, fruit to spoil, and now you must feed the soil. Or now it's time to feed the soil. Whatever. The old lady shows her what happened. That thing from the beginning where it looked like they were killing that lady, they were actually healing her. So it actually turned out she may have known witchcraft, but she used her powers for good. So now, despite the fact she's trapped in this tunnel, this old lady shows her the way, possesses her seemingly, or gives her her abilities, and then pops up out of the ground. And then she gets the rabbit and kills it. And that's right there where I basically said, no, eat shit, movie. And I know the point. But why? I mean, yes, they panned up. But still, I got a problem with animal violence. So she did this basically as a way to traumatize people. And she set this fire outside. And then Andrea says, well, this is okay. The patrons are scared, but let's just bring all the tables out and let's create this. Let's put the food out here and cook out here. Right after he locked her in the basement and all this and whatever. It's a success, and she's able to do this. And look, there were moments that worked thanks to basically DeBosa's tour de force performance, but a lot of this didn't. And it ended up eventually just wearing me down to where I said, I can't recommend this. I'm sorry. It's not good. It's not the worst I've seen. The writer-director duo, they do their best. They no doubt have at least some talent. But I'm just going to put this on Blumhouse TV and Jason Blum. So nevertheless, Agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Riplin. I'll see you soon.